Welcome, everyone, to Drink While You Think. This is episode, I believe, number 16. Wow. And super cool episode because one, got my buddy Brandon on here, and two, first time ever, Matthew and I have been separated. There's no Matthew and Kenji have always been on these together. No, I've not killed them off like in Game of Thrones or something like that. He still lives on. He is out of town traveling again, but I'm kind of excited. Like, all right, what's the flow going to be like now that I've got not just a guest? I'm going to feel like Brandon's like a co-host here with this, man. So Brandon, dude, pumped to have you here, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I've seen a few of the episodes, and I'm actually surprised Matthew's not here, man. You guys are like this. You guys are.
We are like that even when we're traveling and things. And this week it was just too insane. When I knew you were here, I'm like, oh, listen, I got someone who can definitely hold their own,
I am humbled. I am honored. If there's two things that I love to do, it's drink and think.
Okay. I like the first part of that. The thinking sometimes for me gets a little bit off. But all right, speaking of that, what you drinking today, brother?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So as I had mentioned, I met with a good friend of mine today, Drew Smith, up at Monday Night Brewing.
Yes.
I'd give a shout out. So I got some Blind Pirate, some Blood Orange IPA.
Oh, that's a classic.
Delicious.
Drew Smith is a great guy. We were just talking about Drew, friend of both Brandon's and I's. Yeah, give that a little swig on that Blind Pirate. How's that bad boy taste?
So good. And I'm sure you've spent time at the brewery too. Like wonderful brewery, lots to do. Great outdoors area. Everybody brings their dogs up there. Lots of great games to play. And getting some Blind Pirate direct from the cask up there, delicious.
Right from the source. Yeah, those guys are great crew over there. They're outdoor event spaces here in Atlanta. That's two of them now. There's one in the garage. We actually at Acuity hosted a party there a little over a year ago. That was great. And then did the original one too, all the outdoor games and stuff. So super highly recommended if you're in Atlanta to check out Monday Night Brewing, and you can find them probably in most pubs, taverns, because they're really becoming one of our top, absolutely without a doubt, one of our top craft breweries in town. So yeah, repping Drew and the guys. That's awesome.
That's it. What are you drinking today?
So a little different, not local, not at all, but I kind of did this on purpose. I'm drinking what's called an 8-Wired Brewing Company. It's a Saison, but look where it's from. If you can see it, from New Zealand. New Zealand. I thought that was kind of a cool thing because thinking about where you work, we'll talk about them in a minute. Xero, born out of New Zealand. I'm not sure if I've ever had a New Zealand beer, and I happened to see it like in my local beer store. I'm like, oh, I got to get that. And I love Saisons, so. It's a good size bottle. It's a little bigger. It's a pint. I don't know. It's pretty good size, but a 7%er. So this will get me kind of in the weekend mood for sure. I'll let that settle. Give a little swiggy, and oh, that's yummy. Good kind of yeasty. Good farmhouse kind of ale Saison, I would say.
That's all.
Tastes all the way from across the world. Tastes good. You've been. It's from a brewed and bottled in. I know you've traveled over there before. Warkworth, New Zealand. That sounds like small town. You didn't happen to run across Warkworth, did you?
No, not familiar with. Honestly, I'll tell you what though. Let me tell you something about their brewing over there. Those guys, especially in wine, in the wine industry. You can literally drive around the various islands and you can taste the region that you're in. They're so passionate about it. Everything is so fresh. The wine is like nothing I've ever had. And I did have a couple of IPAs while I was over there, but oh my goodness, their red wine is just nothing else in this world matches it. It's amazing.
Really? That's awesome. Because you were there. So again, you've been at Xero now for what, a couple years now?
Wow, yeah. Just over 3 years now.
Oh, 3 years. Yeah, okay.
Time has really flown, but at the same time, some days you feel like you've only been there for a couple of weeks, and some days it's been a decade.
Yeah.
but it's only been 3 years. I came over from Peachtree, Sage, working with a lot of the same great partners out here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
My time at Xero has just been absolutely amazing. Great company to work for. I've only gone to New Zealand once. I've got to get back over there again. I have to find a reason. I have to justify the business expense, right? But no, it's been an amazing experience working with you guys out here in Atlanta. The Atlanta community is growing like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in the SAM role. I know you as a SAM, senior account manager. What's kind of the short scoop on what kind of you're doing mostly in your role?
Yeah, senior account manager. I think everybody sees it a little bit differently. We take ownership of our community. I work very much like a consultant for the partners that are out here. I help a lot of accountants that are very traditional in a sense and looking for new ways to, service their clients, help with their workflows, get into the cloud in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a bit daunting. You've worked in desktop software before.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing sometimes just to wrap your mind around what that means to get into the cloud and change those traditional accounting, muscle memory reflexes, right?
Yeah.
Just do something different and be more efficient. So that's a lot of what I do. I'm also
that's a tough role. I mean, that is a tough role thinking about bringing forth that kind of change or helping institute some of that change. Have you? I know you've probably got a million stories about trying to cajole, convince, get people to kind of embrace the cloud without putting anybody out there on Main Street and like embarrassing them by the name. What have you ever heard of has anyone ever given you like any just really like head scratcher, like reasons for why they don't want to go to the cloud that you're like, wait, what did you just say? Like, have you heard anything that's just been like, so like, what in the world? I'll admit, maybe I had one recently where someone was saying, well, what about like document retention? And I was like, yeah, what about it? And they're like, how are you supposed to retain documents if they're out in the cloud? And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm following you. And they're like, well, as accountants, we need to be retaining documents. And like, I'm like, and you can do that better on desktop? Like, well, desktop, you've got the physical disk and you can keep. And I was like, wait, I said, you could, I guess, print everything if you wanted to out of the cloud. It's always there. But like, are you printing reams? And it just go this back and forth. I finally was like, yeah, maybe. I kind of slowly backed out of that conversation when I was like, okay, I just was like, I'm going to just be polite and nice and not,
Yeah. No,
I don't know. Have you had any of those?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've never had that one, luckily, but there's definitely been some tough walls that have been put up, especially around being connected to the internet, having your financials in the internet, just the fear, the overall fear of doing that. People don't realize how much we're in the cloud already. Our banking, our email, all of our information is already out there. We log into like our medical insurance website, and all of our information is there. We live in the cloud as it is. It's safer than it's ever been. And to be completely honest with you, it's a heck of a lot safer than that desktop tower sitting under Reginald CPA's desk, connected to the internet right now. Everybody has access to hack that little computer if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. It just I'm trying to imagine like if someone really was afraid of the cloud kind of internet, and I know I'm being a little bit poking at people, but would you have to go out and create an accounting firm that you kind of live off the grid in the woods without, you're not going to connect anything to the internet. I'm just trying to imagine it like in some kind of bizarro universe. I don't know. It kind of tracks me up. You've got an incredibly challenging role. And it's a great one. Hey, you do a great job. I always brag on you, man. I tell people like, hey, we've got the coolest account manager, and I'll prove that here real quick. Like, what other account manager? I mean, look at this guy. Yeah. I mean, who else gets up and rocks out? I think this was at XeroCon last year.
XeroCon Atlanta. Yeah.
We were down there at we were Dark Horse, right? Dark Horse, I think, down in the basement doing
Metal Karaoke, Dark Horse Tavern, live behind you. Wow, that's so much fun.
What do you remember you got up and did a couple of songs?
I think in this picture you can see the majestic look on my face.
Oh yeah, you're blissful.
I was singing Sublime at that time, actually.
That's what it is. I was like, I knew there was something because you told me before you went up. You're like, there is one thing in particular I can rock out, and you're right. It was Sublime. It was absolutely Sublime.
Yeah, you know what? Because Bradley Noel of Sublime, you know, he's got a pretty mid-range singing voice. Pretty easy for me to hit those notes. That's my go-to.
But I think I had already bailed at this point. Or maybe I was back in conversation or into more drinks. But I think didn't you and Nancy get up and do some more later? I mean, you came back up. You did an encore, right?
We did. There's video going around town of Nancy and I singing. What did we sing? Was it Sweet Caroline? I think it was.
It was Sweet Caroline. That's what it was. You're right. Yep, you're right.
We wanted something to get the whole bar going in it.
Oh man, like that's why I tell people like we got the coolest account manager out there. All right, let's get off some of the accounting stuff a little bit here. We got that all out of the way. It's also proven that you're cool. You know, at least I know I'm not this cool. You're tatted up. You got a bunch of kind of cool tats. What's your latest tat you have? What's your latest one?
You just called me cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. Come on, man.
Line for the stream. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this one is pretty fresh still. It's hard to see with the light there.
I can see it. Dude, that's a...
So, funny story. When I went to New Zealand last year, I met a moldy priest.
Okay.
Many would pronounce it as Maori, but it's actually pronounced moldy, like a moldy piece of bread.
Okay.
And I met a moldy priest, and I was just talking to him about the tattoos and the designs and the different patterns that they use. And he was just kind of running me through it. And he was like, yeah, this means this. And it's all about where they're from, backstory of their family, who they are as a person, not a lot of religious ties or anything like that. Yeah. And just walking me through it, I was super inspired and actually went and did a bit of research and created my own. And,
it's awesome, dude.
So this is actually a Star Wars-based tattoo. It's the Millennium Falcon. Arabesh down the middle, it says, never tell me the odds.
No way.
About as cool and nerdy as I can possibly muster.
dude, listen. If I don't know, I try to get along with everyone, but if someone's not into Star Wars, I can't it's hard for me to relate. I don't quite understand. So the fact that you're repping the Millennium Falcon, you got the Han Solo, you know, I mean, amazing quote, you know, there. Okay, the tat's awesome. I love that, brother. I think I've seen that before, and I was like, appreciate you kind of sharing more backstory. What's kind of the Star Wars thing, man? Is that just kind of carried over since you've been a kid and you've been, you know, huge Star Wars fan?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely inherited from my father. You know, we had the VHSs back in the day. I grew up on it. Star Wars, Labyrinth, you know, all of those great classics from back in the day. I was born in 83. So, you know, I was alive just in time for episode, 7 and 8 to come out.
Yep.
And yeah, it was just a big part of our family growing up. My dad was a huge nerd, loved it. You used to use the Force on me all the time. Force persuade me to clean my room. Didn't work out too well. But yeah, no, it's an important part of my life. Honestly, there's a lot of lessons that come out of it and great philosophies. So it's such a cool series.
I can tell you as a dad, my kids are teenagers now. I have such great memories of same thing when I was a kid going to see Star Wars. I can remember the exact theater I was in, and it was this old theater in the town I grew up in. And I want to say that it was Star Wars, but I was born in 73, so I got you by 10 years. But I don't think I would have remembered this because I think Star Wars original, so A New Hope was probably like 78. Is that right? It was like late somewhere in there. But I just remember being in this huge old theater and had these huge dome lights up above. And I used to feel like I was in the Millennium Falcon. I remember thinking that like as a kid, and I just can see that. And then And then I think about when my kids, getting to show it to my kids for the first time and watching them like light up with it. Like, this was amazing. There's a lot of things now I show them that I have fond memories about that don't translate as well. There is, I mean, at least with my kids, they didn't miss a beat. It was just like you and I seeing it back when we were kids, when you watch your kids see it. And like, it does create, I don't know, it creates some weird kind of intergenerational, like, you know, great messages, good, evil, all kinds of kind of interesting conflict to navigate. And it was fun watching my kids kind of have the same reaction. I know that probably you and I did when we were their age too. So love it.
Timeless, man. And it's, you know, it's a great story about family drama. So that's pretty well.
Yeah. Do you, are you one of those types, do you acknowledge kind of the first, you know, I guess technically the episodes 1, 2, and 3, or how do you view those kind of?
Oh, you know, I am most definitely a diehard fan. I absolutely love it. I've read so many of the books. I see those prequels as important to the new generation. You know, the kids that grew up in the 90s or were born in the 90s and got to witness those as their first Star Wars movies. Those were magical to those kids.
Yeah.
And so I have no issue with them. You know, I appreciate the continuation of the story, or, you know, learning a little bit about Darth Vader's childhood, right?
Right.
But no, they don't bother me at all.
Oh, that's cool. I always thought like that really diehards would take a much harder line and Jar Jar and all that. But I guess that's I hadn't thought about that perspective of, I guess if you truly care about the story, and not just the story, everything behind it, like, yeah, as long as it brings, if it touches at one generation, as long as it brings them to it, like, then okay, that's cool. That's their thing.
Whether it's Star Wars or anything else classic like that, to be honest with you, just the fact that it's still like this universe is still alive and people, and Disney right now is building an entire theme park around it, right?
You're gonna be like there on day one, right?
Oh, I wish. It's gonna be tough to get in day one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you know, it's one of those things, and you know, this can be related to accounting, you know, an accounting firm and a succession plan or anything else. Like, it's somebody else's story now. It's somebody else's story to tell and to live and enjoy. And so I'm still enjoying it, but some of the new content's going to be for the kids, and that's cool too. That's really cool.
Good look at it. Yeah. We've had a few other miscues. I mean, those Star Wars that back in the 80s, like those you can't go wrong with. We've had a few with our kids. You're like, oh, you're going to love this movie. And you turn it on, you watch it, you're like, this isn't what I remember from back like when I was a kid. Like certainly things like kind of changed. There was some, remember one, you remember the movie The Dark Crystal?
Yes.
My kids were like, and even I looked at them like, they're like, this is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Like, this is supposed to be like, isn't this the guy that did Muppets? Like, this is super, super creepy. I'm like, this is super creepy. Like, I think we had to turn it off. I think I was kind of freaking out. Like, yeah, this is kind of scary. I don't remember that, but
Jim Henson's dark side, man.
Dude, he was storing it up after all the Muppet shows. I think he was like, I got some stuff I got to get out here, and it's going to all pour out in the Dark Crystal. All right, we're definitely letting our nerddom flag fly, but I love that. That's in a big way. So here's another one for you: dogs or cats? You only get one choice.
Cats.
I knew it. That's right.
Yeah, I absolutely love dogs. I'm a big animal person regardless, man.
Yeah.
But I've had cats all of my life, and cats seem to be very much a product of their owner when it comes to personality. And I've only had like super, super friendly cats. They always want to be on your lap. My last cat greeted me at the door every day when I got home. Super sweet. And also very low maintenance. You know, I travel a lot for work. I'm on the road a lot, working with you guys as partners or going to Xero events, and I can leave her for 3, 4, 5 days with food and a box. And when I get home, she's just as happy as when I left. No problems whatsoever, you know.
That is really nice. You're right. That's the dogs. Well, we have one dog. We're kind of a dog family. We love animals too. We have a dog, and we also have another creature, a sugar glider, which is kind of weird.
What?
A sugar glider. You know what a sugar glider is?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
One of these days I'll have to wake it up and like actually show it on the. It probably would attack me or something. They're supposed to be friendly, but I'm not sure ours is. But yeah, dogs are so nice and I mean, so they're so much fun, but they're not low maintenance at all. I mean, they take like we always have to have someone coming over the house constantly when we travel. It's a little tough to travel. My parents grew up having dogs, and I remember that restricted some of their travel, even when all of us kids are out of the house. So, you're right. Cats are very easy to maintain, which is a pretty big benefit. So. All right, dude, you got to, I mean, I know that your last 2 jobs have been in the accounting space. You and I've had this conversation before. Can you do like just an early kind of hit list of some of your earliest jobs? Because when we've done this before, it like just kind of blew me away with some of the spectrum of things that you've done. I'm like, wait a minute, how are you only like in your mid 30s? Because some of the stuff you had done was like crazy. So give me a rundown of like prior to when you entered the accounting software space, just some highlights of things you've done across the board.
Yeah. I remember that conversation too. I should preface it in saying, you know, my father and my grandfather gave me just an absolute amazing work ethic. And I thank them for that, because throughout my life, I can't have downtime. I even have a tough time on vacation sometimes, like putting the phone away and not messing with partners and stuff like that. So maybe I'll just kind of work backwards. Like before I got into software, I was a repo man. I was a repo man driving around in a truck. I was a district manager actually for this company. And we were actually going and repossessing furniture and TVs and stuff like that for companies that would lease them out, and people would stop paying for them or whatever it might have been. And it was a tough job. That was
yeah.
But there's a lot of great opportunity to do some good too. You know, there were some opportunities for me to work with people and kind of help them with their finances at that time, which was
really okay
situation. Yeah. Build out payment plans for them, things like that. Yeah. I did that for 7 years.
Wow.
The odd thing was that started because my then wife at the time, we were living in Pennsylvania, and she was going to school for horror movie makeup effects. Yep. She was going to make horror movies, which is, long story short, what landed us here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. But I had to find something to do while I was up there. I had to find a job, and that was the first thing rewarding that I could find. And so that's what I did for the last 7 years. Prior to that, I was a painter for 5 years. I painted houses down in Florida. I was invested in a coffee shop, and I ran a coffee shop down in Florida for a couple of years. I sold Dell computers for a long time. Like, remember the Dell dude?
Yeah.
Back in the day, like during the Dell dude days.
You were actually selling Dells.
Yeah, and I was in Florida, and when people would call me on the phone, I would like talk like the Dell dude. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Cool, you're the Dell.
Making computing cool.
That's it, man. Yeah. And there's a few other things, but that's the gist of it.
Man, I remember we were having such a great conversation about that. I was like, wait, how many? Yeah, just it was such an interesting, unique path. But you're right, of hard work, of like, yeah, give me something to do where I've got to go work hard and get after it. The repo thing, I think you're right. The natural thing is you think of like, I'm not sure I can think of a more tough, difficult job, but finding ways to help people out while doing it. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. I think, in fact, we were discussing this, right around kind of this time, maybe. Look at that. Look at these guys. Look at these dudes.
So handsome.
Look at these handsome guys out somewhere on some mesa or somewhere in New Mexico. That was a great trip.
Out there, that was such a cool state.
That was a great trip. Yeah, it was. Brandon and I got to go hang out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we were somewhere about an hour outside of Santa Fe here. I can't remember exactly. Well, actually, we were up by, was it Los Alamos? I think it was like that. It's like a very kind of famous like science community up there.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where we were at, like in a park, like overlooking this beautiful area. But that was cool. It was at the Xero Partner Awards where we got to go be a part of that, which was awesome. I'm actually a little bit full circle, right? So thinking about some Xero events coming up. I know next week, I guess probably by the time that this goes out, it'll be right around the same time, but we've got the Xero Roadshow coming through Atlanta, which will be cool.
Yeah,
and then not too far behind that coming up is XeroCon out in San Diego.
yes.
And I don't know if I've told you this, but I'm not going to make XeroCon this year. I know.
This is the first one in how long, man?
In a long time, man. In a long time. But I'm actually going to be. I mean, I hope it make you feel. I mean, it makes me feel a little bit better. I'll be out in New Mexico. So my son and I are doing a 2-week hiking trip in northern New Mexico, and we've had it scheduled on the books for over a year. And so it's the same time at XeroCon. So even though I won't be at XeroCon out in San Diego, I'll be kind of back, probably not too well, at least in the same state we were in when you and I were in this picture, running around, and maybe I'll if I have connectivity, I'll try to shoot something over, thinking of all my XeroCon friends kind of while we're out backpacking and hiking. But that was a great trip we had out there. That was awesome.
That's awesome. Well, I know some of the Acuity team are coming out there, so we'll get together for a picture and maybe a drink or something and make you jealous.
Maybe some karaoke. I mean, who knows? That's what you guys tend to do. All right, one last thing I got for you,
Cool.
And that is when I say keep calm and chive on. I don't know. What do you think about? What does that make you?
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. No. Are you a chiver?
I mean, a little bit, but I remember another conversation you and I had about, is that still what you have on your band there? Is it? I can't tell. Is it a different one? You switched it up?
This is, gosh, on the spot too. I can't think of his name. I need to look it up again. Because I said I would. He was a speaker at XeroCon last year. Phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Google because I said I would.
Okay.
It's such a phenomenal movement, and it's something that he actually came out. We had our Xero kickoff in April in Denver, and he came out and spoke to us.
Oh, did he really? Oh, nice.
Yeah, brought him back there. Absolutely phenomenal story and speaker, and really just about promises and the importance of making promises to each other, whether it's professionally or personally, and following through with them and trusting each other and things like that. Super important in my life and relationships. So I've been wearing this, but yeah, previously, you saw the KCCO.
KCCO.
Yep. Band that I usually wear, and keep calm and chive on. So here in Atlanta, I'm an Atlanta chiver specifically, and we say we are a drinking organization with a charity problem. And we get together for a lot of charity events out here. And yes, a lot of them just so happen to be at bars and stuff like that. That's fine. But they're for all kinds of things. The one that I was wearing specifically before, which is actually in the other room, says "Believe in it." A good friend of mine, his sister had a brain aneurysm, just randomly, young girl, no reason for it. And they just weren't prepared. They needed help with medical bills, stuff like that. Bunch of us got together. Lots of people she didn't even know. Absolutely amazing to see all these people come together and raise a bunch of money for her and her medical bills and stuff like that. We do that kind of stuff all the time. Another thing we like to do is a lot of the elderly out here can't mow their own lawns, especially during the summertime.
Yep.
Take care of lawn care, things like that. So we'll just randomly get together. We've got a schedule that we put together where we'll go and do some lawn care for them and stuff like that, so they don't have to. It's a cool organization.
That's I threw that in there obviously because I remember talking about that with you, and I love that. I tell people, like, listen, good things can happen, when you're doing this, right? Cheers, brother. I mean, we can, absolutely, good works and good deeds and good conversation. So,
some of the world's worst problems are solved sitting down with a friend, with a colleague, having a drink, and really just getting to know each other and learn from each other and understanding where each other's coming from, political, problems, religious problems, whatever it might be, you can always come together over beer and have a good time.
I completely agree with that. We did. We've talked about this before, that kind of the genesis behind what we were doing here with this, or not, one of our many influences and inspirations were just that Matthew and I are talking about how do we try to get better with the medium of video. We just think there's a lot of power in video. There's a lot of opportunity to connect and relate no matter where you are in the world. And we were trying to figure out best ways to utilize it for our firm and our practice. And we thought, well, what's a good way to get more comfortable with it? And we said, what do we like to do? Like, what things do we just love to do? And we thought, what we love to do? We love talking with our friends like you, having it, sharing a drink, and just talking about life. And yeah, a lot of it is around things we're doing inside of our practices, how we partner together, but also kind of what's just going on in life in general, what our challenges and things are, what are great wins we're having. And we thought, if we could once a week sit down and have a drink with a friend, what's better than that? And so that was kind of our way to say, hey, let's just kind of keep doing this and kind of getting together. And I don't know if we're solving world problems. Maybe someday something will come up that we do. But in the meantime, we'll just keep, having beers and working our way through it little by little. So yeah, I think that's it's awesome to hear that you found a way through the other chivers here in Atlanta to, let's go have fun time, build a little bit of community, and think about places that we can kind of impact others. So love that, dude. Love it. Yeah. So I'm going to see you, I guess, next week. I guess that'll be the week that this comes out. Probably next, the week. I guess what's the actual date of the road show?
On Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday. So that's I gotta figure out what date that is.
Oh, it's May 21st.
May 21st. Had to do some math there, which is always interesting. So May 21st, the road show. That's going to be over at. Is it over at ATV? No, it's not ATV.
It's at the Gathering Spot.
Gathering Spot. Yeah, that's a great spot.
Really cool shared space for a lot of local businesses, startups work out of there. Very similar to a WeWork, but it's very local, very locally grown, cool spot. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I was gonna mess with you too. I was thinking this is gonna come out after the road show. We should do you know how they do on TV when they record a live show and then how was the road show? Oh man, it was fantastic.
It was amazing. Yeah, except for it was all awesome except for that time that Brandon got somebody tripped him in the audience when he was walking up and he spilled all over, and that was maybe Kenji who did that. It was just but no, it was
You're gonna get a call from my lawyer soon, by the way. I forgot to.
I'm already seeing in the future. I'm like Bran, I'm warging. Sorry, we're going back to nerddom. I'm warging into the future, and I can see what's happening. And
we can't talk about Game of Thrones, man. We can't talk about Game of Thrones.
Matthew and I do too much of that already. I should have invited you because I know you'd be into it. We did create an Acuity death pool, a Game of Thrones death pool.
I heard.
Yeah, and then we'll see. There was a lot of talk today when I left the office of okay, let's let's look at the points race, how everybody's doing, who's going to take home our little Game of Thrones chalice that we've bought, who we get the drink out of if we win. It's gorgeous. I really, really want it, but I think I'm too far off. I'm going to have a lot of things fall my way in this final episode. So
yeah. You never know, man. They've been flipping the script. We'll see.
You never know. Anyway, brother, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been so awesome working with you. And I've enjoyed building a great friendship with you. And so bummed about no XeroCon this year. Grateful that you're in Atlanta. We get to hang out a good bit and do stuff like this face-to-face a pretty good bit and sometimes virtually. But hey, man, thanks for coming on. I think, Matthew should be a little bit worried. He may have, I don't know. He may have lost his job here. We'll see.
Look, he can be third wheel. It's no big deal.
we could definitely do that for him. So.
No, listen, I greatly appreciate it. Humbled and honored to have been invited. And, taking Matthew's place is it's a very difficult seat to sit in. So
it is.
Hurry back. We miss you, buddy. Enjoy your trip. But thanks again, Kenji. I always appreciate it.
Awesome having you, buddy. All right, don't forget to subscribe. I was always saying one of these corners or things like this, somewhere down here, there's a subscribe button. Please do. We'd love to have you. And shoot us some messages if you'd have questions things you want us to talk about, questions to answer, or you want to be on. Brandon, thanks, brother. We'll catch you soon.
See you, Kenji. Take care, buddy.